Hi, this is Kate from Izzalicious Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to make Hiccup. Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon, the first one, not the second one. And we're going to make him on a single loom. This is a project that Courtney, Nicole and myself have gone into. She asked me if I would make the characters, and obviously I'm honoured to make the characters for her dragons. So this is the first one in the series. There are going to be a few of them, and I'm afraid you're going to have to be a bit patient with me, as I only loom when my little one is at school, and with school holidays at the moment, that is few and far between for moments to catch my looming. Anyway, here he is. I'm using the technique that Crafty Ladybug has done, which is putting hair on the back of the head. I absolutely love it. You're going to need brown. I'm using olive green for his shirt and dark green for his pants. I'm using black for the cuff of his boot. I've got skin tone, and I'm using black mini pony beads. They're a size 7mm by 4mm for his eyes. Alright, so let's get started. We're going to start by doing his hair, and we will have our loom in the offset configuration. So columns 1 and 3 are going to be slightly lower than column 2. Open part of the peg is facing towards you, or the arrow is facing towards you, and we're going to be double banding, and that means you take 2 bands and you place them together on the pegs, and this gives the figure a more strong, robust feel to it, so it's not sort of all wibbledy wobbledy, and that's a technical term, by the way. Push these down, make sure they're secure. Now, my tutorials will not be as entertaining as Courtney. I do not sing. In fact, my child says to me, "Mummy, please stop singing, you're making my ears bleed." So I shall refrain from doing that and leave all the singing to Courtney. So let's put all our bands across here for the back of the hair. Now I'm going to do a single band as a crossover here, and then I'm going to do a skin tone band at the base here. Now this one is what attaches it to the face. So take a single band, wrap once and twice, and we're going to pop that on here. Now we're going to dig down past that skin tone band and loop that up, and then grab the 2 top brown and loop up, push things down because it's going to get a bit crowded. The next 2 go across, these go up the center as to these, and we do not loom this one, we don't loop this top one in. Go back over to the sides, and we're going to loop one section and then this one. But again, we do not loop these. These are going to be the hair, and they link in with the skin tone bands, which we will do now. So take 2 skin tone. Instead of starting here as normal, we're starting where the face would begin. It's still double banding, which means you need to push things down to give yourself room for all your bands to be on there. Now, where you can see bands are twisted, just run your hook on the inside and they will untwist, because I feel that it just looks nicer on the end result without having too many twisted bands. Okay, so now we're going to take 2. Now I normally do a neck with 3, but I'm only doing 2 because this one that's already there is going to act as some support as well. So put that there. We'll do a crossover band here, so a single band stretched across these 3 pegs in a triangle. For the eyes, you're going to take a single band and twist it once, twice, and 3 times, and that is going to go across these pegs here. Now I have a 2.75 crochet dude hook. I like to use that for my eyes, for the beads. they will just slide on. You can use a metal threader if you don't have a hook that fits the beads on, and I have a tutorial on my YouTube channel under the playlist for tips and tricks on how to make one from a twisty tie. You can use floss. If you don't have beads, you can actually use bands, and all you would do, you take one band for each eye, wrap it around your hook once, twice, 3 times and 4 times. Do that to another one. Once, twice, 3 times and 4 times. Each of these represents a bead, and you would slide these onto, oops, 2, 3, 4, you would slide these onto a single band, just like I just did with the beads, like that, and you would place those across like so, just like I'm going to do with the beads, just like that. Spread the beads out, or the bands, whatever you have chosen to use, and take the top part of the band and loop it above this peg, and that makes it a crossover. You would do the same if you were doing this. You would split your hook, put your hook through here, split the band, and put the top part over that peg. It works exactly the same. Okay, now before we go further, as you can see on here, let's move these bands out of the way. You've got these 2 skin tone bands here, and then you've got a set of skin tone bands here, which was the end cap that we made. You're going to put your hook through the end cap like that, and you're going to lift it above these 2 skin tone bands, so it's sitting there. That's locked it into place. So that's the bottom of the hair is now locked into place. Okay, let's continue with our band placement. We're going to do another pair of bands here, and now I'm using Olive for his shirt, and we're going to go across from the neck to the shoulder, from the neck to the shoulder, and we're going to move down 4 pair. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and the same on the other side. 1, 2, 3 and 4. We're going to go down the middle as well, from the skin tone down. Now with Hiccup, he actually has a tunic. As you can see, he's got this tunic that comes lower than the crotch of his pants. So what we're going to do is, where we would normally start his pants here, we're going to keep going with the tunic. So normally we do 4. We're going to do, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hang on, 1, 2, 3 and 4, but we've come down here 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Alright, now I'm going to do dark green for his trousers, and we're doing 4. 1, 2, oops, come here you, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put olive bands from here to here, and from the other side as well, like that. And I'm going to put an olive end cap here. Take a single olive and wrap it once and twice. Olive band, not an olive as in the ones that you eat. Okay, for his boots, I'm going to continue doing dark green like this, and then we will do his boots on our hook, and they're going to be brown. So you're going to take 2 brown bands, put them through your hook wrap once and twice. I'm sorry, I'm telling you fibs. We're going to do three brown bands. We're making them thicker than normal. Wrap once and twice, and we're sliding onto 3. We're going to try and make his boots chunkier. I was on autopilot, wasn't I? Reclaim the end of your bands. Take another 3. Wrap once and twice, and we slide onto 3. Now I'm doing these boots the old way. I will show you my new way as well, so that you can do either or. Now, to do the old way, you're going to take these 3 bands here, the loops, and slide them over like that. Take this off the loom, or off your hook I should say, and swap sides like that. You're still holding these 3, and then take these ones closest to you, up, over and off, and reclaim the end of your bands like so. Angle the foot, and that goes on here. Now, if that completely lost you, let me show you another way of doing them. Take 3 bands, wrap once and twice, another 3 bands, and we slide on. Reclaim the end of your bands like that. Push this down to the end of your hook. Take another 3 bands, wrap once and twice. Now, in this first set that you made, you're going to take these 3 loops and move them over, so that when you look at your shoe, you've got this part here, you've got 3 loops this side, 3 loops this side, and the wrapped bands are in the middle. Okay? Take another 3 bands, place them on the end of your hook, move these first 3 loops up and over, move the wrapped bands up and over, and then the last 3 loops. Slide it all into the middle and reclaim. So you've effectively done exactly the same, but you haven't had to swap sides with your bands on your hook. So there's the other shoe. We do the cuff of his boot after. We need to put some crossover bands, and also his belt. His belt is going to be a single brown band that you wrap once around your hook, and you're going to place one here and then one either side here. The reason I'm doing it on my hook is I don't want to overstretch the band, and if I did that with my fingers I'd be stretching it. So I'm just doing it like that. Let's put some crossover bands on. Single, olive, and you stretch it in the shape of a triangle across these pegs here, like this. Now I know we're probably going to have to lift these up to loop those ones down. That's absolutely fine. If I don't put them there, I'll forget to do them. Okay, for his hands, take a single skin tone, wrap it once and twice, slide onto a pair, and reclaim the end. And we're going to slide them onto 4 more pair of olive. So there's 1. Let's make that pretty. 2. Slide them on. 3. Put them on the end of your hook. Just slide them on. 4. And that goes on his shoulder, just here. We'll do the same on the other side. So single skin tone, wrap once and twice, slide onto a double skin tone, and reclaim the end. Take a pair, put them on your end of your hook, pair of olive, slide 1 and 2 loops over, and reclaim the end. This is just doing a chain on your hook instead of on the loom. 2, 3, and 4. Let's put that on his other shoulder, like that. Alright, it is time for us to loop this little dude up, and then we'll do the cuffs of his boot and his jacket. Pull his boot back and find those 2 bottom green bands and loop up. Same on the other side, we'll do both boots at the same time. Loop up, 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 and up with all the dark green. So loop all the dark green up first. Now dig down past that end cap, grab the 2 top olive, and I've dropped one, but I'm going to just keep going. There he is. I don't want it twisted. Come on, there we go. So don't do the same on this side. Do this side properly. Grab the 2 next top, loop them across. Dig down again, find those middle ones and loop them up. So we'll loop the middle one up and then the sides. Now I'm going to lift this band off, the crossover band off, and I'm going to loop this side up. Okay, you have the top 2 olive and the bottom 2 olive bands on this peg here. We're going to put our hook under the bottom 2. You're going to grab the brown bands, just the brown bands, not these 2 from the next peg. Move your hook around and pull forward like that, and you can twist it around to sort of untwist it if you need to. Then you're going to put your hook through and take those 2 top bands off, move the crossover band back like that, and replace those 2 olive bands. Let's do the same this side. Take this crossover band off, loop this up. Have a look, you've got your top 2 and the bottom 2. You're going to go under the bottom 2, grab the brown bands, you're pulling it under and around the back and pull it forward. Okay, and twist it around so that it becomes untangled. Lift the top 2 bands off that, grab the crossover band and place it back, and then you're putting your bands back. Now we only did that because we had the crossover band there and it was in the way. For this one we don't need to move a crossover band because it's out the way, it's above. So but we're going to go under those 2 olive bands, grab, and I use my thumb to keep pushing these bands down so they don't come off the peg. Grab the 2, can you see, the 2 brown bands, you're moving them to around the back side of the peg and moving them up and over like that. Okay. I do, if you're finding that tricky, in a playlist on my channel called Tips and Tricks, it shows you a close-up view of how to do a belt. So if you're having problems, I also have tips and tricks on how to do the boots if you have a problem with that as well. So loop this up to the arms. Now loop this one up, but leave the skin tone one till last. We're going to dig down and loop the arms in first. Okay, now we will loop the chest one up to the throat so that the skin tone one is on top. Dig down, grab those 2 skin tone bands and loop to the chin. Okay, now we have to find these 2 top skin tone bands, just the 2 top ones, and loop to the side. Same on the other side, just the 2 top skin tone. Now here it gets tricky because you've got 2 skin tone that you want to loop up, but one of them is probably going to be hiding a bit, and what you want to be careful of is that you don't get the other side of this end cap, which is skin tone as well. So take care on that one. Now we're going to dig down on this side and find the 2 top skin tone bands. You do not want to get the brown bands, okay? Just the 2 skin tone. If it means getting one at a time, that's fine. Loop up and loop up. Loop these middle ones up. Now, this is where we tie the hair in. So dig down and find the 2 brown bands and loop up and loop up. We're going to grab 2 of our brown bands to tie off with. Push your hook down the middle and out the side. Pop your 2 brown bands on. I like to turn my hook so that the smooth side of the hook is going against these bands and doesn't snag anything. Move the bands to the back side of the peg and then take these 2 closest to you up, over and off and pull tight. We're ready to take him off our loom. I use the back of a metal hook to help me. I don't like broken bands. So the last thing I want to do is put additional pressure on him by just yanking him off the loom. Where you only have 2 bands or so on, it's not a problem. But when you have multiple bands, yeah, you need to be careful. So we'll take him off our loom, move it out the way for a minute, stretch him into shape a bit, pull his arms out and down so they don't sort of stick out like he's playing stuck in the mud. So that's his little body. What we're going to do is hide these looped bands. If you see at the back here, you've got this space here. So what we're going to do is poke our hook through the back here of the space up to the top where there is no space. Grab those brown bands. I'm going to pull them back down and hide them in that space so that they are not as obvious. Of course, that all depends on if I can actually grab the bands. There we go. So they're hidden at the back of his head. His eyes are poking out. We need to do his jacket and we need to do the ruffles around his boots. Now I used black for the ruffles around his boots, and I used single bands, and what I did was I put my hook through one part of his boot, of his leg here, the bottom part, and I took a single black band and looped it on itself like that and drew it through like that and held on. Now what I'm going to do is take about 8 or 9 of these and do the same. I think it's about 8 or 9. We'll see. So here's our first one. 1, 2, well that's 3 because the first one was, there's 4. So this just makes it tighter and smaller. Take another one. 5. 6. 7. And that's 8. Let's see if that's enough. What we're going to do is you just wrap it around his foot. Nope, we need a couple more. Nine. And 10. Alright, let's try again. Wrap it around his foot like that. Now, when we get back to this first one, what we want to do is still have a looped band on our fingers ready. Okay, so wrap it around. We want to take this first set off, this first little pair off. I hope you can see what I'm doing. So you've got it in your hand here. If you have another hook, by all means use your other hook or a toothpick or something like that. So you've got both ends of it secure there. As I said, we're wrapping it around his foot. Come here, you Hiccup. Now, when we get back to the beginning, you want to put, you've got your first set of this last band on. Now you're going to push your hook through the first band that we placed, right, and then reclaim the end of those bands. That's so that the middle, it's in the middle, the first band is in the middle of the two bands either side, like that. Then you're going to take the new band that you just looped, and we want this to be drawn through like that, reclaim, take it up and over, and then you're going to splay that out, if I can get my fingers out of the way, and poke his shoe through it like that and move it down, and that is the cuff of one boot. Okay, like that. Let's do the same to the other. So we're going to put our hook through. Now if you want it actually on his boot, go through his boot as opposed to his trouser, but I quite like it through his trouser. I like it so that it looks like it's a high boot. So push your hook through the trouser, take a single band, loop it, figure 8, loop it on itself. Going to bring that back through and hold on like that, and then we do 10. So here's our first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hey, come back here, you. 7, 8, 9, 10. Now remember, we're going to put our hook, our other hook, or a pencil or a paper clip through the other end of that. So you're holding it like that. We're wrapping it around his foot, and then when you find the beginning, push your hook through and then reclaim the end on your hook. Again, take a single, wrap it around your fingers so that it's tight, and slide this all the way through. Now, sometimes it's easier to just turn it on itself and slide like that. one over the other, so you have a slip knot. You're going to splay this out and pop the foot through to secure it, and then pull that boot down like that. Okay, so that's how we do the cuffs of his boot. If you don't want to do the cuff of his boot, that's fine too. It's completely up to you. Now we need to do his jacket, and again we're doing it on a single loom, but you are going to need your Rainbow Loom hook, which has the base removal tool on the end of it, because we're going to be doing the move it forward technique. Let's get myself organised. So we need all the columns to be the same height, so it's standard configuration, and we are going to be using brown for his jacket. Okay, we're going to start by putting 2 brown bands here on this peg, doing nothing, and the open part of the peg is facing towards you, the arrow is facing towards you. Double banding, so 2 bands, and you place them on the pegs as if they were one. Alright, we're going to go down the length of his jacket, so if you have a look, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 length of his jacket, the length of his shirt. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Don't really want it to be twisted. There we go. Let's do that for the other 2 columns as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now here we're going to take 2 bands and we just want to place them here. They're going to do nothing until they go to the next column, but to lock them into place, take another 2 and place them from columns 2 to 3 like that, and then take another 2 from column 1 to 2. We're going to have an end cap on here, so take a brown single, wrap it once and twice, and we'll pop that on as an end cap. And we're going to need crossover bands, so take a single brown band and stretch it across these rows like that. Now dig down past this end cap, and what you want to do is find these top 2 bands here that you're going to loop across to the right, and you can do the next ones as well. Move those to the right like that. Okay, push things down. Grab your hook, and we're going to loop up these 2 first rows. When you get to here, move to your second row, column, loop that one in, and then you're going to dig down and find those 2 bands and loop them to the right like that. We can now take this off the loom, this first column. I like to still hold the second column in place so that nothing goes AWOL, walk about. Take that off, it's locked into place. Now turn your loom upside down. We're going to move these mini base plates forward 1 like that, and then take that column off and move it forward, and it will become column number 4. Now we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're doing 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I thought so. 6 columns. This is 4. So take another 2. You're going to place them on the top here, doing nothing. Move these ones that were doing nothing across. Lay the bands for column number 4. Likewise with this side, you need to have 2 bands going across to column number 5, so you place them there, but you still need to drag these 2 that were sitting there doing nothing over onto them. Alright, drag your crossover bands over to incorporate this new column. Now dig down, find the 2 top and loop them to the right, push down. Dig down and find those 2 bands at the bottom. You're pushing that crossover band back with the back of your hook so that it's out of the way. When we get to the top, we're going to dig down and find the 2 bands and loop them to the right. Now we can take off column number 2. Again, keep your hand on the middle column so that you don't lose the bands from there. Push everything down. Turn your loom over. We're moving the big base plate this time. And then take your column off, move it forward. This is now going to be column number 5. We need 6, so we're still going to put those 2 there for our last column and move those across like that. Let's do our bands for column number 5. We're still double banding. We still need 2 more to go to our last column. There we go, put those on like that. Dig down, find those 2 top brown bands and loop them to the right so that that's locked in. Grab your crossover bands and drag them across to incorporate that new column. And now we can loop up. Dig down and find the 2 bands and loop them to the side. If it's tight, wiggle your hook around the outside of this peg. Let's take this one off. Again, as you can see, I'm making sure that I keep these down. Push them down. Turn your loom over. This is our last column. Move it forward. Move it forward. Take this column off. This is column number 6. So for column number 6 we don't need to put 2 for the next column because there is no next column. So we just move those 2 bands onto there and lay our bands. Similarly with this, we just move that across, drag the crossover bands for the last time, and find those 2 top bands. They get looped to the right and everything else gets looped up in these 2 columns. You can do both at the same time now because this is our last column. dig down, find those 2 bands, loop across and loop across. If it's tight, again, remember what I said, wiggle your hook around the outside. We're going to take 2 bands to tie off with. Dig your hook down through the middle, out through the side, place the 2 bands on and drag them back up, reclaim, and take these 2 up, over and off. We can take this off the loom now. Move our loom out of the way. Stretch it into shape. We've got this little square thing happening. We're going to hide these bands down the center here. Okay, so grab the end of the bands and pull through. Sometimes it's easier just to do one at a time. There we go, there's one. Let's grab the other one. There we are, that's better. Okay, so that's hidden there. Now, when we do his cape, or his jacket, what we're going to do, this is the top, you're going to push an arm through the first one here and the first one here. And the reason it's not going to be so high is otherwise he's going to look like he's got a really high jacket on. So find a little hole, a gap between your looming, and push his arm through like that. And then on the other side, at the same spot but on the other side, alright, again you're going to find a little gap, push his hand through and pull it. The reason I did 6 columns was because if I only do 3, his arms will sort of go backwards and I didn't want that. Now you can leave it like that if you want to, which is perfectly fine. As you can see, it fits him and he looks fine in it. If you want to, you can secure it, and I just used a little band to secure it. So what I did was I went through like 2 of these here, got a single brown band, and I did a little loop knot here. And then what I did was I wanted to go through his body, so I went through a couple of the bands at his body here, and this is just to keep his jacket onto his body. So sorry, let me do that again. I want to go through from this way because I want the band to come at the back of him. So I dragged, I promise I did. I dragged the band to the back of his body here, and then I went through the back of his jacket and grabbed it and pulled it through. I then went in the same spot on his jacket but on the other side and pulled it through like that, again putting my finger through to keep it from going backwards. I then went through this side of his body like that, and then through the side of his jacket here, there, and you're not going to believe it, but I tied a knot. So I went back to where it was here, and I put my, so I went through it there, put my hook through, dragged it back like that, and then I just sort of tied a knot, taking one over the other, and tied a little knot like that so that the jacket was secure on him. And kind of just push it forward a bit so that you can bring his arms forward. But effectively, there we have Hiccup. Straighten his bands out a bit so they don't look so wonky. There we have Hiccup. I hope you enjoy making him. Take care. Bye bye.